What's your prediction on podcasts? I mean, I belong to a CEO group, and every week everyone's like, I got to start a podcast. I got to start a podcast. Is it too late? Is it the right time? There are so many damn podcasts now. So just in our space alone, there's like hundreds and hundreds of marketing podcasts. So it's just the reason why we love our listeners so much, because they're so loyal. But the point is, like, where do you think like pure audio content and podcasting is going? Does it continue to thrive and survive, or is it, it's too crowded of a marketplace?
No,
What's
I don't
your
think
sense?
it's too crowded at all. I think that we've been really spoiled recently just because we say now it's too crowded. That's like saying that stock is too expensive. You know what I mean? Like back before Berkshire Hathaway was trading at whatever it is now. You know what it is? What is it per share? Like $100,000 or something obscene.
Oh my God. Yeah. Imagine the people are like, oh my God, it's $500 a share. I could never afford that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what it feels like, because anytime you're looking at that graph, all you have to do is zoom out and realize like, well, if it is $500,000, when it was $100,000, people were like, oh my God, that's insane. And when it was $1,000, people were like, oh my God, that's insane. So I think what's going to end up happening inside the space of podcasts is each listener, we get 300,000 downloads a month on this show. Ralph, that's unbelievable. That's like Madison Square Garden times what, 12 or something? How many people fit in Madison Square Garden? 20,000?
30,000?
Is that what it is? So like 10 Madison Square Gardens a month. And we look at that and we're like, oh, how do we get to 350? And I'm going to get a little dramatic here. Dude, that's 300,000 souls. That's 300,000 households. That's 300,000 individual incomes. And so I think what will start to happen with podcasts is, instead of thinking in those large aggrandized numbers, it's like, man, if you're getting 100 listeners a month, good on you, dude. And that's okay. And podcasts will continue to get more niche down, more specific, more targeted. And I think every HOA should have its own podcast. I think every community should have its own podcast. I think every Boy Scout troop, every individual, Chick-fil-A, like, it's okay to get that niche down. And they don't have to be daily the way that this is daily. But podcasts are meant for exactly this, talking about specific topics relevant to a specific audience. Well, then the question is where's the limit on specificity? And my answer is there isn't one. So I think podcasts continue to proliferate, but I think the listenership available to podcasts as they proliferate obviously goes down. It's the way that there used to be 10 television stations and now there's 500,000, and then but there's still this insane hunger for content. That doesn't stop.
It hasn't stopped.
Yeah. And I think podcasting is still a smart thing for businesses to do. Absolutely. I don't even think from an acquisition perspective. I'd say go send your prospects to your podcast after they land and then use that as an indoctrination method.
I mean, we have by the way, it's 20,000 people are held at Madison Square Garden, which is about like the Boston Garden, like TD Garden. So like, that's a lot. So that we get 10x that amount every single month.
If we get 300,000 downloads, that's 15 times Madison Square Garden.
It's a ton. That's a ton of people. So now the point is that if you launch a podcast, you are not going to get those numbers for quite some time. We've been at this 8 years plus. But the point is we have a common friend. I always use him as an example. Like, he's in the M&A space in the agency world. He has a podcast. He uses it to recruit deals for him that are worth, like, he just did one that was worth over $900,000 he got on a commission. And you know what he did to help bring that in? It was a referral, obviously, but he had them listen to a bunch of his podcasts to get to know, like, and trust him. And he used it as sort of part of his sales funnel. It's brilliant.
It really is.
And he probably gets maybe 1,000 downloads per month.
1,000. If he gets 1,000, I'd actually be surprised.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
So once a week, maybe a couple hundred per episode. But the point is, it's the right couple hundred.
That's exactly
right. It's agency owners looking to sell their business. Second Bite Podcast. Shout out to my boy Todd Taskey, who will listen to this show now that we plugged him. I know you're remaining silent. The point is, I actually think one of the guys in my CEO group asked me about this particular subject, very, very niche, related only to his industry. I'm like, yes, absolutely do it. But you gotta do this. You can't give up after the third month when you start getting discouraged, because that's when you can't give up.
Right.
But at month 3 is when most of them stop.
Right.
So yes, I think there is absolutely still a market for it. And the niche, the deeper you go into one specific niche, a niche of a niche of a niche, you can get found in all these podcast
Well, and then
platforms.
you become that micro influencer we're talking about that people want to work with and through.
Correct.
And you end up, even the 1,000 listeners or whatever that Todd's getting ends up being worth a massive amount to the right strategic partner.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I graduated college, Berkshire Hathaway stock was at $4,700 a share. It is now at $549,000 a share. So it's crazy. Like, think of it that way. Are you at the early stages of podcasting? No. Are you in a mature phase? Maybe. Is it past? No, I don't think it will. So yet another prediction: podcast market is still a strong way to boost your business.
Kasim with the Daily Google News, and I'm here with my buddy Hector, who is the best podcast producer I've ever known in my entire life. Hector, you're the producer on Perpetual Traffic. You're the producer on Roland Fraser's show too, aren't you?
Business Lunch.
Business Lunch. You're the producer on Digital Marketers Podcast.